Hey YouTube, this is Hypergon back again for another video. This time I'm going to be doing a redo of my Dragunity deck profile since my last one. They finally released Dragunity Spear of Destiny, or Dragunity Divine Lance as they've decided to call it. I still think Spear of Destiny sounds better, but I digress. Because of that, there have been some, not necessarily major changes to the deck, but there have been changes to it, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I've done with it. It's working pretty well for me so far. Let's get started. Alright, so starting things off, we have the good old 3 copies of Dragunity Ducks. No Dragunity deck would be complete without these guys. In case you don't know, what they do is when they are normal summoned, you can target one level 3 or lower dragon type Dragunity monster from the graveyard and equip it to him. He also gains 200 attack for each face-up Dragunity card on the field. Normally this didn't really make a difference, but now it is actually a more relevant effect. On top of him, I'm also carrying 1 copy of Dragunity Legionnaire. Not as good, but he does still have the same effect of when normal summoned, he targets a level 3 or lower Dragunity card, or Dragunity Dragon type monster, from the graveyard and equips it to him. The only difference is that he can send 1 equip spell, or, hold on. Yeah, an equip spell, no, it's a Dragunity card in the spell and trap card zone, I'm sorry, to the graveyard in order to pop 1 face-up card on the field. Specifically, 1 face-up monster. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me today, I'm just all over the place. But, yeah, he's not as good just because he's only a level 3, so he can't go into things like Vajrayana like Ducks can, but he does still have his uses. Anywho, the main monster you're going to be grabbing with these guys is actually going to be your 3 copies of the Dragunity Phalanx. Since we do not have Ravine back, we still need to get to this guy ASAP. And the best way to do that is by running 3 of him on top of a bunch of other things. The main thing about him, on top of being the main tuner of the deck, is that once per turn, while he's in the spell and trap card zone, he can special summon himself. So if you were to do this with Ducks, you'd be able to go for his 6-star Synchro. If you do it with Legionnaire, you can go for a 5-star Synchro. Like I said, he just serves to be the main tuner of the deck. This is one of the 2 centerpieces along with Ducks of the deck. Also running 1 copy of Dragunity Atlas. When this card is normal summoned, he can actually special summon 1 Dragunity monster from the hand, and then Atlas equips to the monster that was special summoned. In some variants, this can be pretty useful because you can get out high-level Dragunity monsters without having to tribute for it. But if you just effect Valor it or something, that does actually stop it, and then you're just stuck with a 1,000 attack point monster on the field. But he has another useful effect that combos really well with Legionnaire. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, you select 1 card on the field and destroy it. Now, if you couple this with Legionnaire's ability to pop 1 face-up monster on the field, you summon Legionnaire, get Atlas, or summon Atlas and then special summon Legionnaire. Either way, as long as you have a Legionnaire with an Atlas attached to it, you can send Atlas to the graveyard in order to pop a face-up monster, and then Atlas's effect kicks in and pops another card. Doesn't matter where or what it is. Unfortunately, that does come with a drawback, and that Atlas's effect is mandatory. So when he is sent, you have to pop something. So if you're only going for, like, if your opponent only has 1 monster on the field and you're using the Legionnaire Atlas combo, just be aware Atlas is going to have to pop Legionnaire because there's no other targets for it and it is required. Other than that, now for some of the changes that I mentioned, because otherwise so far this has been exactly the same. One of the newest additions is Dragunity Brandistock. Normally this card was not all that used just because it doesn't have any real useful effect. What he does is that when he's equipped to a monster, that monster can attack twice during each battle phase. Now, again, that sounds good in theory, but up until recently, it was actually kind of useless, and that there weren't really that many situations you'd want to go for it. However, with Dragunity Spear of Destiny, this card has suddenly become a lot better. And I'll get to that later. Moving on, we now have some of our Ducks imitations. We have 1 Garuda the Wind Spirit, and 1 Blackwing Zephrosty Elite. Both of these cards are okay, really. They're not that great. They just kind of help keep your big combos going. Garuda can be special summoned from the hand by banishing a wind attribute monster from your graveyard, and Blackwing Zephrosty Elite can be special summoned from the graveyard by returning a face-up card you control and burning yourself for 400 life points. This guy can be used as many times as you want. His effect can only be used once per duel, so he's kind of a hidden trump card. And Garuda's only really good if you have a spare wind monster you're willing to banish. It combos really well with Tempest because he gets you the Tempest Search, but again, that's kind of a situational thing. It doesn't happen as often as you think. Next up, we have 2 copies of the Dragunity Arma Mistletoe. I tried running him at 3, and it was okay, I guess, but there's just so many ways of searching this guy out, mostly through Tempest, that quite honestly, it's not even really necessary to run him at 3 for me. I've been working with him just fine at 2, and he's been doing his job quite well. Plus, he can brick really, really hard if he's not... Like, there have been times where I've had a starting hand of a bunch of spell and trap cards I couldn't use, him, and a red MD. And that hand is garbage. So I don't want him too early. I want him more after I've had a chance to establish it, or if I have a phalanx in my hand. Anyway, the way the Arma Mistletoe works is that he can be special summoned by sending a face-up Dragunity monster you control to the graveyard. And then when he's normal or special summoned, he can equip a dragon-type Dragunity monster from the graveyard onto him. So a good combo with him it would be to summon out Phalanx, send him to the graveyard and special summon Arma Mistletoe. Arma Mistletoe's effect then activates, re-equips Phalanx. Phalanx can then special summon it, and you can go into any 8-star synchro you want. Or if you want to keep it going, you can do what I just said, only after you special summon him, send him again for another Arma Mistletoe. Sorry, this thing keeps moving all over the place. But send him for another Arma Mistletoe. Arma Mistletoe's effect activates again, get the same Phalanx, or a different one, whatever. Equip it, special summon it, then you have a tuner there, and 2 level 6 monsters. So you can go for that 8-star synchro again, or you can do a rank 6 play. These guys are pretty good. They do open up a lot of options. They're pretty much essential for the rank 6 build. Anyway, finally to round off the monster count, we have the 1 copy of Tempest. Like I said, he's pretty much the main search card of the deck. For those of you who don't know, he can be discarded with a wind or dragon monster. Or no, my bad. Just he can be discarded with a wind monster in order to search out a dragon. You can banish 2 wind or dragon monsters from your field or graveyard. Oh, I'm sorry, hand or graveyard. I'm screwing up all over the place today. In order to special summon him, if he's banished, then you can search a wind dragon, and if he's special summoned, he is returned to your hand at the end of your opponent's next end phase. And finally, to round things off, we have the 1 copy of Red Eye's Darkest Metal Dragon. Pretty much a staple in any dragon deck. Can be special summoned by banishing a dragon, and can special summon a dragon from your hand or graveyard once per turn for just being there. Again, pretty essential for a lot of the combos, and it's a dragon deck, so why wouldn't I run it? Anyway, that's it for the monster lineup. Now moving on to the spells. Starting this off, we have the newest edition, Dragunity Divine Lance. 3 copies of it. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, good, Dragunity players finally have support, they'll shut up about Ravine. No, we're not going to shut up about Ravine, because this does not fix the Ravine issue. This fixes an issue that never existed. This helps us search our dragons. What we need to do is search for winged beasts, but I've already done that rant, so just see the Dragunity, the Dragon Ravine rant if you really want to hear me whine about that. Anywho, for those of you who don't know, what Divine Lance does is that it can only be equipped to a Dragunity monster. It gains attack equal to its level times 100, which is alright. It becomes unaffected by trap effects, which is really good when you're pushing for game. And the main effect of it is that during your main phase, you can target a dragon, you can equip a dragon-type Dragunity monster from your deck onto the equipped monster. And you can only use that effect once per turn. That effect is actually what opened up a new OTK in this deck, and why I am now running Brandistock. The way that the combo works is that you'll do your thing where you summon ducks, get Phalanx, sink 6 into Vajrayana. Vajrayana will get whatever out of the graveyard, it doesn't even matter. You then equip Divine Lance onto him, so he becomes 2500. Activates effect, get Brandistock. Then you activate Vajrayana's effect, and send whatever thing you equip to him that was not Divine Lance or Brandistock to the graveyard. Now you magically have a 5000 attack point monster that is immune to trap effects and can attack twice that turn. That is the new OTK this card opened up, which is why I'm happy about it. It still doesn't fix the main issue Dragunity players have, but again, I'll get over that when Harpy's Harpist comes out. Also, thank you to the person who pointed that out to me, that Harpy's Harpist was a thing. I was extremely happy to find that out, and it's working wonderfully in my online build. Anyway, in the line of equip spells, I'm also running one Snatch Steal, now that this is legal again. I still don't know what Konami was thinking with this. This card is just ridiculously good, but hey, if I can run it, I'm not complaining. Also lets me run one Hidden Armory in order to search out either my Divine Lance or my Snatch Steal. For those of you who don't know, Hidden Armory, you send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, and then you can add an equip spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. However, you cannot normal summon or set the turn you activate that effect. Pretty big drawback, but I mean, if you're going for a Snatch Steal, or you already have a set up field where you can just do stuff with Divine Lance and that's all you really need, then honestly, who cares? It still works either way. Anyway, now we have 2 copies of Cards of Consonance, just a pretty straightforward draw power. There's a decent number of targets in the deck, but not enough for me to feel like I need to run 3, especially with how many cards I have to send them from the deck to the graveyard. It just feels like any more than that would be kind of excessive. Just send a Dragon type tuner with 1,000 or less attack from the hand to the graveyard in order to draw 2 cards. Next up, running 3 copies of Dragon Shrine. This is one of the changes that I made. I used to only run this at 2, but I realized that the deck needs its speed. It needs to be able to get its plays off as soon as possible. So this works really well with order to get Phalanx into the graveyard. It just sends a Dragon type monster from the deck to the graveyard, and if it was a normal monster, you can send another one, but this deck doesn't have any of those, so the only catch with this is that you can only activate this card once per turn, so oh well, minor drawback really. As long as I can get my Phalanx there, it's okay. 1 copy of Foolish Burial for the same reason, but this also lets me get Zephyros the Elite into the graveyard, which is nice, so just in case I need to get that extra monster out, it's pretty helpful. 1 copy of Gold Sark, so I can banish Tempest in order to search out anything that I need, or to search out Red MD if I'm going to need him in a couple of turns and I've already used up my Tempest. 2 copies of Instant Fusion, because I need as many ducks in the deck as is humanly possible, since I have no way of searching for him. 1 copy of Soul Charge. 1 copy of not quite a Raigeki, but it should be one. And 1 copy of Book of Moon. And, you know, just your basic staple one-ofs. That rounds off the spell lineup. Finally, moving on into the traps. This part won't take very long. And this is also where my final change to the deck is. Basic one-ofs. You got Compulse, Bottomless, Torrential. Pretty much staples in any deck. You know, just bouncing monsters, stopping summons, stopping a lot of summons. Just, they can be helpful. 2 copies of Mirror Force, just in case my opponent feels like pushing for game, I can push back. And this is going to be kind of a weird one, just follow me on this for a sec. I run 3 copies of the Legacy of Yatagarasu. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, why don't I just run Upstart Goblin? Well, when I came up with this idea, and for the most part still now, I'm not the biggest fan of Upstart Goblin. I feel like that 1,000 life points can be kind of risky, because how many times have you guys gone into a game where you needed to use Cowboy to push for game? And that 1,000 extra life points to your opponent could potentially screw that up. I'm a little more lenient on it now that I've thought about it and tested it out a bit, but now it's just more an issue of money. If I could, I probably would make these Upstart Goblins, just because you do need the consistency, and for this deck, 1,000 extra life points is not that big of a deal. You can easily push past this. But yeah, that's it for the main deck. Moving on now to the extra deck. Have our 2 Instant Fusion targets of Mavelus. This card was truly a godsend for the Dragunity players once Ravine got banned and we had no way of searching out ducks, because it's the level 4 Winged Beast non-tuner that we needed, and it can be special summoned, so that still gives us our normal summon for the turn, which is always nice. It can be used to help keep a play going if we need to. But next up we have the crown jewel of the Dragunity deck, our 3 copies of Dragunity Knight Vajrayana. This is the card that most Dragunity players will go into damn near every time they get a chance, just because it's the best card in the extra deck, quite honestly. The way he works is that, as with all Dragunity Knight Synchro monsters, they require a Dragon Tuner and a Winged Beast non-tuner. So when the card is Synchro summoned, you can target a level 3 or lower Dragon-type Dragunity monster in your graveyard and equip it to him. Then, once per turn, you can also send an equipped card attached to this card to the graveyard to double his attack until the end phase. That's kind of where that OTK opened up that I told you about with Divine Lance. Just Synchro him, get whatever out of the graveyard, equip Divine Lance, use Divine Lance to get Brandistock, send whatever it is you equipped from the graveyard back to the graveyard, and then you have a 5,000 monster that can attack twice. So, but on top of that, he's also good for Synchro Labyrinth, because when you do summon him out, you can just grab the ducks back, summon it, and then go for an 8-star Synchro. So he's pretty good for that too. This is the card for me that invented the term Synchro Ladder. I could be wrong on that, but this is the guy that taught me about Synchro Ladders. I also run one copy of Dragunity Knight Guy-Dirge. Again, one Dragon Tuner, one or more Winged Beast non-tuners. Once per turn, during the main phase, you can select one level 4 or lower Dragon or Winged Beast type monster from your deck, add it to your hand, and then discard a Dragon or Winged Beast type monster. So he's basically some extra search power, and truthfully the only means in the deck of searching out ducks. The irony of it is, if you can make him, you probably already had a ducks. But either way, he can just help you get those plays going, and he is essential for like the really big combo play. If you want to know what I'm talking about, I've actually already made a video about that, showing off some of the Dragunity combos that you can do. You can check it out on the video. I'm not going to go into terribly great detail on that now. Yeah, so that's what he does. I also run one copy of Armades, just because with Legionnaire and Phalanx, I can make 5-star Synchro plays, and Armades is a hella good one. I also run every Dragunity player's favorite Synchro Ladder monster, Stardust Dragon. I don't think I need to explain what Stardust is, but just in case I have some people who are new to Yu-Gi-Oh! Watching, he's just a standard Synchro monster, just one tuner, one non-tuner, or one or more non-tuner. And you contribute this guy to negate the activation of a spell or trap card that would destroy, or effect monster effect that would destroy a card or multiple cards on the field, and then destroy that card. Then, if you activated this effect, during the end phase, you can special summon this card back. So, he's pretty good for stopping a lot of the bigger plays, like Torrential Tribute, Dark Hole, Raigeki, things like that. Or, heck, even just another person trying to do some Legionnaire BS. You can use Stardust Dragon, stop him, and he'll just come right back. Also run one copy of Scrap Dragon, because popping things is fun. You can target one card you control, one card your opponent controls, destroy them both. Plus 2,800, hard to argue with that. And I'm debating this next card just because I don't get to play him that often, but he's still a lot of fun to run this deck. Trident Dragon. For those of you who don't know, he requires a Dragon-type tuner monster and a Dragon-type non-tuner monster. You can usually accomplish this by using either Scrap Dragon or Stardust, and one of your many 2-star tuner monsters. When this card cannot be special summoned except by Synchro Summon, and when Synchro Summoned, you can destroy up to 2 cards that you control. And if you do, he gets an extra attack for each. So he can attack upwards of 3 times when he is first summoned, with 3,000 attacks. So that's game quite easily. He's just fun to push for. Once, what do you call it, Moonlight Rose Dragon comes out, I'm probably going to start throwing Debris Dragon into here, so he might be a little bit easier to make. So I might hold on to him. But for the time being, he's actually proving really difficult to summon. But hey, again, when Moonlight Rose comes out, then I'll have more of a reason to run the card that'll make this guy doable. That's actually it for the Synchro monsters. I just have a couple of Xyz cards. Queen Dragoon Jin is the first one. It's actually just a vanilla, but it can... Its effect is that Dragon-type monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle other than this card. And once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material in order to special summon one level 5 or higher Dragon-type monster from your graveyard, but it can't attack this turn and its effects are negated. But hey, that could be what you need in order to get out something, in order to keep your plays going. Like, you could just get out a Vajrayana or something in order to do a rank 6 play. Maybe you could use a Trident Dragon that you've already used up and just have a big 3,000 beater that can attack next turn. Or a 3,000 wall. Who knows? The card is somewhat selective, but it's proving pretty useful so far. Also have one Castell, just because you gotta get rid of some of those pesky cards, and while I can't often rank 4, it is doable with the deck, so I'd still say it's justified to run Castell. Finally, one Gauntlet Launcher, just to help get rid of some of those monsters that may be blocking the way for your OTK. Fun part about Gauntlet Launcher is that his effect is not once per turn, so you can actually detach once, pop a monster, and then detach again in the same turn in order to pop another monster. Is it monsters? Yeah, it's monsters. But either way, that can still just open the path for a big attack. One Hierarchic Dragon King of a Tomb. This guy specifically does require dragons, but with this deck that's not hard because all your level 6 monsters are dragons, so once per turn you can attach an Xyz material in order to special summon a dragon from your deck, but its attack and defense becomes 0 and it can't attack and this card cannot attack the turn you do that. Not the monster that was summoned, I don't know why you would with a 0 attack monster, but a tomb cannot attack the turn that you do this. But this is a great way of searching out Red MD from the deck and just getting him. Plus, what you can do, which is kind of a funny thing to do, is when you do get Red MD, bring back Phalanx, bounce him in order to bring back a Zephyros that might be in your graveyard, and then you have a 6-star synchro play you can make, and then a tomb that you can banish since he's essentially done his job and can no longer attack that turn. Just a helpful little thing that you can do. And finally, one Constellar Ptolemy 1M7. I never knew how to pronounce this guy. This is actually a surprisingly good card for the deck. His main effect that he does is that you can, once per turn, detach an Xyz material from this card, and then target a card on either player's side of the field or graveyard, and then return it to that player's hand. So that can be good for getting back, say, a Dux or a Garuda or something that you may happen to need in order to do it, or if your opponent has a really big beefy that you just can't get over, just bounce him back with that and then swing for game. And that's it for the extra deck. I actually have a side deck now, so let me just go through that real quick. I didn't have them. It's actually the first side deck I've ever really made for something. Starting it off, I got 3 MSTs, just in case back row is a thing with whoever I'm fighting. I need to be able to have these, but some decks aren't really that big on it. I know that when Necros comes out, MSTs are going to be basically worthless against that deck. But yeah, not all decks are that back row heavy, but just in case they are, I got these ready to slide in whenever I need to. And 1 copy of Release Restraint Wave for the same reason. This one's kind of a funny one because you can since all of the Dragunity tuner monsters, when equipped, are equip spells, this card actually does work for it. So what it does is you select 1 face-up equip spell card and send it to the graveyard. Then you also destroy all set spell and trap cards that your opponent controls. So this is a good way of getting rid of any potential back row that your opponent may have before you swing. It actually does work surprisingly well. I also have 1 copy of Starlight Road, just because we do now have 3 Mass Destruction monster effects in the form of Raigeki and 2 Dark Holes. So Starlight Road, if I need it, can be really helpful just for getting out that Stardust Dragon and negating a lot of things. So I also have 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill, just in case monster effects are proving to be a pain in the arse. 2 copies of Trap Stun, just again in case back row. And 1 Photon Strike Bouncer, again, just in case monster effects are becoming a pain. The only reason I side him is because I feel like Gauntlet Launcher is a more productive use of space. If anything, I would probably take out Queen Dragoon Jin, but I don't know. I just kind of like her being in the extra deck, and this to me just seems more like something where if I need it, then I can just side it out game 2 and I'll be good. But yeah, that is the deck profile. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and comment down below. And also, if you guys can help me get to 500 subscribers, I'm actually going to start a new video a new series on this channel. I can't tell you what it is yet, but if you guys can help me get to 400 subscribers, I will give you a hint. All I can tell you is that, as far as I know, there's nothing like this on YouTube. No YouTuber has tried anything like this. I could be wrong. YouTube's a big place. There are a lot of people who do this. But yeah, if you guys can help me get to that magical number 500, then I'll be sure to start something that I think you guys will all enjoy. Until next time, this is Hypergon. Peace.